Hey everybody, welcome to Henry's 16th Street Tavern here in downtown Denver. Excuse me, I am so sorry. I'm here at Oscar Blues. Force of habit, man. I've been doing all kinds of stuff all over the city. Hope everybody is out here and they are enjoying their summer so far. But if you guys want to talk some Rockies, if you guys want to talk a little bit about the Denver Broncos, whatever it is you want to discuss, we can discuss it here on noon o'clock. We're here at Oscar Blues, and as you can see, they gave me a bunch of merch to show you guys. This is the Thai habanero chili rub, it looks delicious. I haven't had it yet. Super hot. But also, obviously, they do a lot of craft brews here, and I've got Dale's Pale Ale here, which actually had the other day for our watch party here, Germany and Sweden, which was fantastic. You guys should go check out our call. We had Connor Cape, voice of the Rapids, on with us. And then also, too, quite a few Germany fans here, quite a few Sweden fans. Everybody loves soccer around World Cup time. You find every person who's from another country you know, and they're super into the World Cup. It's a lot of fun. So come on down here to Oscar Blues. We're going to be doing watch parties for them for the World Cup for the next, 3 or 4 weeks until the World Cup final, which will obviously be broadcasting here as well. And then also, too, I had this. This is one of their Goodnight beers, G-Night. It's got a nice little koozie on it. Very cool looking koozie. I actually just love all the stuff that they do here. They actually do a coffee brand, too, Hot Box Roasters. So they got all kinds of merchandise here, too. So if you're not actually a beer drinker but you love great food, we had some of their fries the other day. Connor had some of their chicken and waffles, which was fantastic. So everybody, I would love for you guys to come on and join the show. Hello, Melanie. That's my wife. She's joining. She's watching with us. Thank you very much, honey, for watching. Andy out there. Andy says he didn't store it there. The U.S. government did. All right, so we got to get right into this. This morning on Mornings with 5280, I got to tell you about this because we came to the conclusion. I think Nate was telling me he had watched Back to the Future recently, and he had said it was a really good movie. And we started thinking about movies, and it just dawned on me that, yeah, that's right, Brent, Casey Comets. Yeah, you like this? You like the shirt? Repping Kansas City today. I should be repping Arkansas. They made the College World Series final, which starts tonight against Nate Lundy's Oregon State Beavers. So Andy said, I was in the World Cup during Germany during the last World Cup. That was much more enjoyable than this World Cup now that we are in Texas. Yeah, I would say so. Probably more enjoyable in Germany than it is in Texas. In no small part to the fact that the United States did not make the World Cup this year. But it's been a lot of fun this year. I've had a ton of fun watching the World Cup so far. To get back to my Indiana Jones take. Look, it is so reckless for the U.S. government to let an archaeologist who has no security training, has no military background, really anything, to store a gold box that melts your face off in an unsecured warehouse. What happens when, the security guard knocks something over, with his elbow, just pours coffee all over the Ark of the Covenant, and then for retribution, it just melts his face off? What happens? What happens if it falls into the wrong hands? I think these are all legitimate questions we should be asking ourselves about Indiana Jones, and in particular, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Also, that boulder was conspicuously round. I've never seen a rock that's that large, that's that spherical. So I got a lot of problems there. Steven Spielberg has been causing me to stay up nights just thinking about Indiana Jones. No, I think it's a legitimate question, and you guys should answer it. Before we go any further, before we get into the sports takes, and I do want to talk about the Denver Broncos, Joe Woods said something about Bradley Chubb and Von Miller being like Batman and Robin I wanted to get into. And then also, too, Michael Porter Jr. got drafted by the Nuggets, which is a perfect Nuggets pick because he has the potential to be the best player in this year's draft, and he also has the potential to be an injury case like Sam Bowie, who never realizes any of his potential. So we're going to talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk with I wanted to mention our buddies over at Brent Mallia Real Estate. Look, Brent Mallia Real Estate. He's with Coldwell Banker. Go to brentmallia.com. He was my real estate agent in a really big, important time in my wife and I's life, because we were trying to get out of a cramped apartment, and real estate is really expensive in Denver. So we're from the Midwest, so it was a little bit of a sticker shock at first coming out here and moving. But Brent smoothed all of that out and was able to put our minds at ease. He was also able to find us what we wanted. My wife, God bless her, she is a picky woman, but she knows exactly what she wants. I love you, honey. And Brent was able to deliver that for her, which is not easy. So I always try to tell people, look, Brent is going to do everything that you want. He's going to find problems with the house that you're looking at before you even come close to thinking about buying it. He kind of does an inspection as he goes. You're walking through the house, you're looking at the kitchen, you're looking at the living room, you're looking at ductwork. A lot of times it's hard to spot termite damage or other kinds of problems with the house. You have to know certain things about the water softeners here in Denver, and a swamp cooler versus AC. What do you want? Do you have AC? I mean, there's a lot of those questions that need to be answered, and he's able to answer those questions for you right on the spot, right there as you go through the house, which is not something a lot of real estate agents do. They just kind of let you free and you just roam the house with no real direction. Brent doesn't do that. So wanted to mention Brent. Check him out. He's with Coldwell Banker, but go to brentmallia.com and you'll get more information about him. Hook up with Brent, and we'll put out his information here on the feed, and you can get in contact with him, obviously, as you like. Also wanted to discuss Platte River Mortgage. They helped us out with our mortgage, and Sean Sedita, second to none. Guy does a phenomenal job, and so we want to give Platte River a huge shout-out as well, because, not a lot of companies operate the way Platte River Mortgage does. As you can see there on the screen, they've been serving their clients with honesty and integrity ever since they opened their doors. That's not going to change, and we can speak to that. That's the absolute truth. Sean Sedita was able to work for us on his own vacation. We could call him day or night, weekend, during the week, doesn't matter. He was able to get what we needed for us through, and he did it on a deadline. Absolutely awesome job by Sean Sedita in helping us out with our mortgage. Okay, back to sports. Let's talk a little bit about the draft on Thursday, because I know a lot of people out there are maybe a little bit concerned with what is Ari saying? What is this? Ari says, the fact that Michael Porter Jr. slipped so much speaks to how bad the medicals on him were. TJ, have you ever washed your clothes with a crayon in your pocket? I haven't. I don't know what that means. I haven't, not yet. Did that happen to you, Ari? I would love to know. Michael Porter Jr. Okay, so he slips to 14, which everybody is kind of trying to figure out whether or not that's because of a resurgence or a reemergence of his back problems. Back problems are a big issue, especially for basketball players. Guys who have back problems, especially if you're over 6'10", become a real problem. Michael Porter's not over 6'10", so that's not going to be a problem for him being too big like Sam Bowie or Greg Oden or somebody like that. And this also wasn't a microfracture injury, so I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be a recurring thing. But the back spasms really concerned a lot of teams. Then they said, no, bad medicals. We don't want somebody who's going to be hurt his whole career. The Nuggets drafted him with the clear intention, I think, of basically giving him a year to get fully healthy and develop, which we'll see how that strategy plays out. It worked for the 76ers. And so I actually really liked the pick. He was the only logical pick for me at that point. I know that a lot of other people were in on some other guys, but I thought that was the right time to pick Michael Porter. If he slips to you there, you take a gamble on a 15th overall pick, and it's not the end of the world if he doesn't pan out. It's not good, but it's not the end of the world. So I think the risk is worth the reward if he ends up being what you think he could be, which was the best overall player by a mile coming out of high school. And I thought it was a really good pick. It was a good decision by them to take Michael Porter Jr. But by the way, we're going to get to the Jokic contract here in just a second. Ari realized I lied as I was putting some clothes in our dryer. I forgot I had a red crayon through the wash. All right, you guys figure that out with the red crayon thing. I do want to know how that turns out. Is that bad if you put a crayon in the wash? I don't know. It's kind of waxy. I don't know if that's a problem or not. But I think Michael Porter Jr. was a good pick. I thought the risk was worth the reward at that point. But I will also say this, that if he doesn't pan out, it may not be because he's hurt. And this is another reason why I really like the pick. Because a lot of people thought that it wasn't that it was bad medicals. It was that he was out partying the night before and he skipped a workout and he claimed back spasms when in reality he was just hungover. And I think that if that's true, if he was a liar and not a medical case, I think that you absolutely take him because you can fix a liar. That's just immaturity. Everybody lies. I lied incessantly when I was a child. I lied about everything. I think like every third word out of my mouth was a lie when I was like 7 years old. You grow out of it. Now, he's 18, 19 years old now, so he's at least 19 years old, but so he should probably have grown out of it by now. But, sometimes it takes those athletes a little bit longer to figure it out. Ryan says, I realize they are two completely different injuries, but everybody was doubtful about Peyton Manning's future after his multiple neck surgeries. He went out on to have one of the best statistical years in 2013. Best statistical year ever at that time by a quarterback. It is possible that Michael Porter Jr. could go on to start him. Absolutely. And I think that that's kind of where I'm at with the Nugget. If you're in the middle of that middle part of the draft in the first round, that's the place to take risks. This isn't the NFL where if your 15th overall pick's a bust, people need to be held accountable. It's just different. And so I think that's the place where you take risks on guys like MPJ. And you know what? If he's a liar, and you can coach that out of him. You can get him to become more mature. Does anybody want to be held accountable for the stuff that they lied about, like white lie? Who has never lied about why they didn't go to work that morning? Is there anyone on this broadcast? I challenge you to tell me with a straight face, in all seriousness, on the chat right now, that you have never skipped work because you were hungover. I don't think that's that big of a deal. I really don't. Look, it's a really important thing for him. He knew he had the workout, blah, blah, blah. But he's 19 years old. You can fix that. You can't fix a back that won't heal. You can't do it. If you have back problems and they don't heal and you don't feel good and they're just constantly nagging you, that's going to last for years. You may never be the same again. He may walk funny at 70 if he never plays another dribble of basketball. So, look, I think that it was a really good pick. I like the pick, and that's with this included. Because Michael Porter Jr. is one of these guys who's, I don't know, it's weird. He has this delusional confidence about himself, which I kind of like. Here's his quote. He said, "I love to be held in the same category or in the same conversation with Kobe and LeBron and MJ." And then somebody followed that up with, "Who put you in that class?" And he was just like, "I did." So he was saying it's an honor to be considered in that class by myself, which is just amazing. That is a special level of delusion and, again, confidence that only basketball players have. I don't know what it is about NBA guys. They all seem to have that where they just they are so every single player in the league. There's 500 players in the league. And 450 of them think they're the best player in the league right now. Dead serious. They think they're the best player in the league. I guarantee you, if you go ask J.R. Smith who the best player on the team is, he'd be like, I am. That's exactly what he'd say. Yikes, that's lofty. I much prefer the comparisons to a guy like KD. Yeah, I think that's fair, because that's all you really can do at that point is score to impress people at the high school and college level. That and athleticism, and he had that. He just couldn't really display it because he only played 3 games. So, yeah, look, it's a good pick, and I also think it does this. if it doesn't work out, you don't really have to change your strategy in terms of the personnel that you have around Jokic and Murray. But if for whatever reason all the risks are negatory, everything turns out perfectly, he's a superstar in the making, and you can tell really early on, then all of a sudden Michael Porter Jr. is like the focus of the offense, and Jamal Murray becomes one of the most tradable players in the league because you got to find place for him. And look, I think Will Harris and Jamal Murray both, you could pull in a really, really good star player for those two guys. And I know everybody, this is the one place where I am at odds with a lot of Nuggets fans and people here in Denver. I look at Jamal Murray as a really, really good player. Jamal Murray is like the guy who plays the Incredible Hulk, that Mark Ruffalo. He's like Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo is good in everything that I see him in. He's also never going to win any awards. He's never going to be Brad Pitt. He's never going to be like Willem Dafoe. He's never going to be niche. He's never going to be spectacularly brilliant like what's his face from My Left Foot, that guy. He's Daniel Day-Lewis. He's never going to be Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's also never going to be a superstar player or a superstar guy like Brad Pitt. He's just Mark Ruffalo. And I think that's how I view Jamal Murray. He's good every time I watch him. I just know that he has limitations in every direction. He's a little too small. He's a little too slow, just a smidge too slow. I'm not saying he's slow. I'm saying he's just a little too slow to be elite fast, to be in that category of, man, look at that guy move. He's not quite there, and he's not quite as like gifted as anybody else. So he's just like, he's kind of hemmed in by his own limitations physically and skill-wise and all those other things. So I look at all that and I think, okay, well, he's good. Everybody likes Jamal Murray. There's not a single guy who would say anything bad about Jamal Murray because it exhausts too much energy to do so, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about. Jamal Murray is good enough to get everybody to compliment him, but he's not good enough to have anyone really criticize him because it's not worth your time to do so. No one cares. And I think that's kind of my issue with Jamal Murray. But I think he's a really tradable player, especially if Michael Porter Jr. works out. Because if Porter Jr. works out, then you have too many pieces that are similar, and you've got to trade somebody, and you're not going to trade Michael Porter Jr. So it kind of leaves you Harris and Murray to bring in a star player. And if your lineup is Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, a very good Michael Porter Jr., and I think I'm missing somebody. And then you've got one more like star-studded star player that you've given up Will Harris and Jamal Murray for. Give up those two players for, let's say, Kyrie Irving. Let's just say hypothetically it's Kyrie Irving. You're telling me that Kyrie Irving, Nikola Jokic, Paul Millsap, and a very good Michael Porter Jr. wouldn't be like your ideal perfect lineup for a playoff, like a real legitimate, you could compete with that. That's a really good roster. And that's why I like this pick so much, because it allows you to hold on to the guys you really, really like that maybe maybe are limited in their potential, like Jamal Murray. If Michael Porter Jr. doesn't work out, it's okay. But if he does work out, you can then trade those guys for a bigger piece that really makes you legitimate title contenders here in a couple of years, or maybe even next season. That soon. One player can make more of an impact than in any other sport. That's true. That's why, once again, I think Michael Porter Jr. What did Michael Jordan say? The ceiling is the floor. The ceiling is the floor for Michael Porter Jr. Zach also says, but how many pieces are they away from competing in the West? They are competing in the West. They should have been in the playoffs this year. The fact that they weren't is kind of sad. I mean, honestly, if you're looking at last year's season and you are satisfied with what happened, I don't know how to help you, because I know that a lot of Nuggets fans were like, yeah, they're building, they're getting better. I mean, they kind of got better. They did some things that were positive, and good thing Paul Millsap's on the team. I like that addition. He just wasn't he wasn't the impact player that they had wanted or they thought he was going to be, and they only played half a season. So I just think if there are enough pieces in place right now to where they better make the playoffs next season. Because holy crap. How could you not make the postseason with the roster that they currently have? It's insane that they've been the 9 seed 2 years in a row. Who do you see as a legitimate star player to bring in if we can offload some salaries and trade away a piece or two? I thought Kyrie Irving was a good one. I still think if you made the right offer to Kawhi Leonard, I think that he would come, but it looks as though he's probably only going to be if you had the right pieces in place, I think Kawhi would be a really good ad. I just don't think it's realistic, and also I think Greg Popovich has been quoted recently as saying that he's only going to trade Kawhi in the East because he's definitely on his way out. We all know that, but let's see here. Andy says, if Porter thinks he's so good, then there is his Josh Rosen 9 mistakes quote, or his Porter MJ Kobe comment the equivalent. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Rosen's pretty arrogant, but I feel like his arrogance is honest. He really does. I think that he's very comfortable in that. I don't think he's trying to compensate for anything. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. is trying to compensate for anything either. He was considered the best player in the country coming out of high school, so that's probably where it comes from. I don't know if Rosen had the similar kind of deal, but I do know that, he was a big swinging D on UCLA's campus with the hot tubs in the dorm rooms, with the hotties and whatnot. Murray's natural spot is the 2, so who would you rather play the 2, Murray or Harris? I mean, Murray. I think Murray. I would say Murray. I don't know. What do you think, Darren? Do you guys think? Do you think he should play the 1 or the 2? Because I think he should probably play the 2. And the other thing that helps with that is that, Porter. You got 2 guards coming out of your ears now in high school, so Porter can kind of play everywhere. So it doesn't necessarily matter, I think, where you put him. He can play the 1, 2, or the 3. He can play the 4, I think, depending on your competition or whether or not you want to go with a small lineup. But yeah, I think that there are a lot of good spots. I like their roster going into next season. And to kind of pivot over this, we're doing a lot of Nuggets talk here for the first show here from Oscar Blues. By the way, come on by. We're here for lunch. We're going to be here for lunch all week. So if you want to come on by, say hello, hop on the broadcast, man. If you come by and you just tap me on the shoulder right here, you can sit down in this chair and we will talk it out. We'll talk all things Denver sports. H is just more of a scorer, so I'd rather get more of a natural point guard and move Harris. Yeah, I think you would have to give up both to get a star, though, like a really good player, somebody who's a proven commodity. Which I think there are a lot of guys who are moving into that, and I've been contemplating whether or not Wiggins would be a good trade prospect because Wiggins has been a little bit overlooked as of late. You're saying Murray's more of a scorer. Yeah. But once again, I think that the same point serves. The same point stands. That you probably have to give up both of those guys. And unfortunately, I think that Murray is a little bit hurt, and so is Harris, a little bit hurt by the fact that they play in Denver and nobody ever watches them, and so the urgency to acquire those players from other teams and other teams' fan bases just isn't nearly as high. So anyways, I love the lineup, and I love that there are a couple of different players who are kind of up and comers who you could target. I don't know if you could ever really. I would love to see them go a little bit counter culture or a little bit counter to where the rest of the NBA is headed, because most of the NBA, the most promising team in the league right now is Philadelphia. They're primed for greatness over the next maybe 5-6 years. And they're all big. Like, they're a big team. And so as much as I understand that spacing matters a lot, I think length is going to start mattering a lot more. Mo Bamba he's a longest wingspan, I think, since Manute Bol in the league. I think it's 7'10" wingspan. He has enormous reach. And I think playing defense, being long like that, is going to become a much more important thing than, say, maybe it has been in recent years because of just how well the Golden State Warriors can shoot. But what we're seeing is that the big guys can shoot too. It's not like Joel Embiid, who didn't start even playing basketball until he was like 14. It's not like he has no handle. I mean, we've Andre Drummond up in Detroit. You saw his evolution from a raw physical talent into somebody who could put the ball on the floor and really take a guy one-on-one off the block. And I think that if you have enough talent like that in the right place, you can do something really, really special. So I wouldn't even be opposed to adding somebody like DeMarcus Cousins or Anthony Davis, somebody like that to Denver's roster. I just don't know what other teams would want out of that, and I don't know if – do you think that any GM in the league would give you Anthony Davis for both Jamal Murray and Will Harris? And I know a lot of people are saying right now, that's too much. That's too much. I wouldn't give them both. You're going to have to give up both to get that kind of talent. And there are so many players like that right now, big, athletic, really talented guys. And everybody is talking small right now. I think you got to go back to big. I think you got to talk big because everybody's going small right now because of the plethora of two guards in the league. And a lot of that has to do with Jordan. Look, the two-guard evolution came about because Jordan was the greatest ever, and everybody who's my age or younger grew up saying Jordan's the greatest ever. And then analytics came along, and Sam Hinkie did what he did with the 76ers, and he said, look, no, if you are over 6'10", look at this over 6'10" talent that can shoot. Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant. You've got guys who can, look, even on a lower level, much lower level, Channing Frye. You've got guys who are taller who can shoot, and you're starting to see more and more and more of those guys who have a handle. They are more than just simply back-to-the-basket players at 6'10 plus. And I would add, if I had the opportunity to do so, add another piece like that, mainly because I think Jokic, despite his size, is much more of a passer. He's much more of a facilitator. He's got a good offensive game, but I want him facilitating more so than anything else. Give me a legitimate, 6'10 plus scorer, somebody like Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't think they would trade him, but just as an example. You could absolutely get somebody like that. I thought it was a really good move this week, and it should be done this week. I believe that what is going to happen here with the Nuggets and Nikola Jokic is they're going to decline the option, and then they're going to re-sign him to a $140+ million contract, which is a huge plus for him. I think it's going to put the Nuggets into the luxury tax by quite a bit, but that doesn't bother me. It's not my money. I don't care. You've been the 9 seed 2 years in a row. I don't care if you go into the dark, into the red for a little while. Just get to the playoffs, please. Darren says, are the Nugs that worried about the luxury tax after signing Jokic since Arthur, Fareed, and Chandler fall off the year after? I don't think that they are. I think that their priorities are in the right place. And it's been hard to say that over the last couple of seasons because they've been so close to getting some trades done that would bring real big legitimate talent to Denver, and it just hasn't happened. But I love the Paul Millsap signing. I think he's going to come back. I think they're definitely a playoff team this year. And then if Michael Porter Jr. starts to show out, I kind of like Trey Lyles. Not Lyles. All right, tjsagent.com. I just got a text message from Brent Malia. tjsagent.com. There we go. Let's put that right up there. Go to that link right there. I just put it there in the feed. TJ's Agent. That's where you can go to check out Brent Malia. tjsagent.com. Brent doing yeoman's work, man. He's always on it. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. We're here at Oscar Blues. Come on by, have lunch, say hello. I'm going to grab some lunch after I'm off the air here, but I had to show you some of this merchandise. I showed everybody at the beginning of the show, but they've got some of these really nice rubs. This one is your Chibizi Salt. Chibizi Salt. Boom. Also, you've got your Hot Box Roasters. Can you dig it? coffee. That's 100% Arabica coffee. You got to brew it by October of this year. Whole bean coffee. There you go. Kenya dig it. That's fantastic. So come on by here. They've got some great brews as well. Dale's Pale Ale, which is a staple here. They have 6 staple beers. It's one of the oldest breweries in Colorado. They started off in Lyden, and obviously have moved into the city. And they're here now on Market Street in Denver. So come on by, say hello. We've got a nice little lunch crowd here going on right now. But come on by and say hello, talk a little bit of sports with me, and we'll have some fun. I'll buy you a beer. Okay. I wanted to move on now and discuss a little bit of what's going on with the Rockies. I'm out on the Rockies. I've been telling you guys since the beginning of the season, this team is no good. The team is no good, and I've been telling you that the whole time. I'm out. I'm out on the Rockies. Right now, they are currently playing like one of the worst teams in baseball. And I'll never forget the feeling I had the 2013 season with the Kansas City Royals. I covered that team, and it was the first time they'd had a winning season in like 10 years or something. It was sad. They had a winning season, and the GM, Dayton Moore, said it felt like winning the World Series, getting that monkey off their back. I don't know what the monkey on the back of the Colorado Rockies is, but whatever it is, they need to get over it. I don't care if it's the park, which it seems to be this year. A lot of people are making excuses for the park because their record is so terrible at home. But my feeling on that has always been, because, look, the Royals for a long time have said, oh, it's the park, it's the park, it's the park. We can't hit any home runs. The wind is too bad. It's the stadium's pointed in the wrong direction. It's too big. All these complaints all the time. And I said, it's not that hard. Everybody has to play in the same stadium. So if your opponent's playing in that stadium and they're beating you, that means that they're better at playing in your stadium than you are. So if that is your complaint, you got to get over that. You just have to. It's not a legitimate excuse. And so when I take a look at what what the Rockies have done this season, I like the moves. I liked spending $105 million on your bullpen. Brian Shaw's been a $27 million mistake. And while Wade Davis has been decent, he hasn't been great. And he certainly hasn't been Wade Davis good, who had the two greatest years as a relief pitcher in baseball history. That guy is struggling as well. And it's not just him. He's overused. Adam Ottavino is the only pitcher out of their bullpen you can rely on. He's the only consistent strike guy that they have. And their rotation is also shit. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just simply saying if you wanted this team to be a playoff team like I did, those guys needed to improve, and they all got worse. Every single one of them, except for Chad Bettis. Chad Bettis gets to do whatever he wants. But, everybody else, I get it. Gray was coming off that performance. Double-digit strikeouts. I think that was the 12th of his career. He's got stuff, but it's not consistent. And he doesn't do a good job of really revving up when he needs to. Greg, I don't think there's any way the Nugs are getting Anthony Davis from the Pels. I agree. I was just using him as an example of the plethora of players who are big men who are really, really good right now in the league. And I think targeting one of them as a potential trade option would really benefit the Nuggets, even though they'd be trading away, in all likelihood, smaller players. But I agree with you. I don't think that Anthony Davis is getting pulled away from there. But there are a lot of guys to target. Those guys are coveted so much in the NBA. So it's hard to get those guys. But if all I wanted to say is don't shy away from getting that type of player just because you think, oh, we need a small point guard. Because Jokic could play the one, and he'd be a really, really good – he'd be a power one. He'd be a power one. But no, look, the Rockies are – I think you need to start figuring out what you want to do. What do you want consequences to be based off of the outcomes that could happen here? So where's your expectation level? Are you all in on saying that the Rockies have to make the postseason this year because that was your expectation from the get-go? And if that's so, if they make, obviously if they win the World Series, that's great. If they advance in the postseason, that's really good. If they make the postseason but don't advance, that's okay. And then if they don't make the postseason, you're upset. If they totally tank, somebody has to get fired. And I think that that's really kind of where I'm at is I'm not feeling great about this team. Things don't look like they're going well. And if they go really badly for the rest of the season and guys just, pack it in and give up, then I'm in a place where I'm saying they got to fire somebody. I thought the Rocks were going to take 2 or 3 from the Rangers. I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, look, and I also thought that they were going to win a series against the Marlins, who are intentionally trying to tank this year. And they didn't. It was just nasty, awful crap from start to finish, all the way around. It was just, their hitting has been bad. Their defense has been bad. And I thought this was a pretty solid defensive club. They have the best third baseman in baseball. And Ian Desmond has at times been a liability on defense. The only reason I think he's still in the lineup is because he can hit home runs. And that's the only thing that really matters in baseball right now is home runs. If you just say it out loud, Ian Desmond only hits home runs, and he's the second best offensive player you have right now, only to Trevor Story, who leads the team in RBIs and batting average and home runs. And then third is Nolan Arenado, who is obviously the most talented offensive player they have, but he's not the most productive at this point in the season. All that stuff's got to change. I agree, Andy. Rocks are selling at the deadline. Yeah, good call. I think that's really true. And I hate to say that because I wanted them to be buyers at the deadline. I wanted them to go out and try to get somebody who was a really good pitcher, Matt Moore, somebody like that. Go out and try to get a starting pitcher, an ace, a legitimate ace. Look, John Gray's kind of like he's kind of like a 1-. I would say he's a legit 2. He's a 1-. He's definitely not an ace. They need one of those guys. And if Adrian Beltre and Cole Hamels are on the trade block, anything is possible. Well, yeah, that's true. Story, Cargo, and Blackman are gone. I agree. And you know what? I was kind of happy that Story was going to be out, but man, I don't know now. He's having a really good year. I don't know if this is a change for him or if this is just an anomaly season like a lot of guys have. But Cargo's definitely out. Blackman's gone. And I think LeMahieu is also up. But you think they keep LeMahieu, Andy? I'm not sure about LeMahieu. He's kind of on the fence for me. But they got to clear space for Arenado, obviously, which is worth it. I don't say that about most players. Usually I hate the big contracts. If you go back and you look at Joe Mauer is a really good example of when you had a smaller market team with a limited budget go all in on a fan favorite player who's really, really good, and it basically hamstrung the team from spending on any other players and being competitive. And I that's why I generally don't like it, but I do think it's worth it with Arenado because he consistently hits above 300, which is just remarkable. He consistently hits home runs, which is also really good. And then he's the best defensive player at his position in the entire league. I don't know what you do but re-sign that guy. I think that's the most logical choice at this point. Arenado and for DeGrom or Syndergaard when healthy? No. That sounds like, are you friends with Zach Rosenberg? Because that sounds like a Zach Rosenberg thing to say, like overvaluing Mets pitchers. Syndergaard's good. DeGrom, both of those guys have had injury issues. I'm not sure. If you could get both of those guys for Arenado, I think you'd do it. But that's not how baseball trades work. Keep Story and move Rogers to second. That might work. I understand the tinkering with the lineup has been kind of the catch-all fix for the Rockies this season. Because they've been doing that stupid thing at the leadoff spot in the 2-hole all season with LeMahieu and Blackman, which I don't like. And then, moving Story over, keeping Story. Look, I think Trevor Story has had a really good year, and I don't know if I can buy it yet. I need to see him hit this way all the way up to the trade deadline, and then maybe a little bit more for me to say keep Story. But I have nothing negative to say about Trevor Story. I think people were really harsh on him at the beginning of the season, unnecessarily. DeGrom is a stud. Hasn't had any in many injuries. I always think I got him confused with Matt Harvey, Greg. That's my bad. He's been the healthiest of all the Mets pitchers. That's true. Because the rest of them have been hurt. But yeah, no, you're right. DeGrom has been really, really good. But yeah, I'd take two of them. I'd take both of them for Arenado. That he's the only offensive player in baseball right now that no, that's not true. There's three of them. There's the obvious ones. I think he is in this conversation, and he should be, and he isn't. But the best overall players in baseball are Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, and then Arenado is right behind those two guys. In terms of overall performance, I think he could do a lot. I think he could be better. He's kind of struggled this year. He has been better for sure. LeMahieu is probably staying put, but I never thought Ian Kinsler would have been traded by the Rangers. It's true. I don't think look, they may try to unload all those guys at the deadline. I have no idea. I think that would be a bad move if they tried to unload all of them, because they're not going to be that far out of first place even after the All-Star break. So if they can make a run and get within 5 games of first place at least, stay within 5 games of first place at least, then I think you have to stay put at least. But it's just really frustrating. This team, I didn't really understand the frustration of Rockies fans last year, because last year I was watching this team and I'm like, they're performing really well. They got the eye of the tiger. They're really focused on this. Their pitching is overperforming. Their bullpen needed a little bit of work, but I thought they fixed that in the offseason. And in all honesty, the one thing that I wish they had done that they didn't do was keep Lucroy, which we've talked about multiple times on this show. But that's a coulda, woulda, shoulda thing, and I don't know how to solve their catcher issue, because I think that's probably they're probably one of the weaker teams at catcher in the league, and that's a really dangerous position to be weak at, because it's so important. It affects every pitcher out there. Bryce Harper is not playing like one of the best players in baseball. Not right now, but he's one of the top 2. I mean, we know where the talent is. Nolan Arenado's not playing like the best player on the team in Colorado right now, but he's clearly the best player on the team by far. So, yeah, not right now, but Harper's really, really good. What are you trying to give me shit about my Bryce Harper take? I thought that was a good take. Just taking it. Do we need to do a mandatory Broncos update here? Do we need to talk about the Broncos? I put the Broncos on there, but what's happening right now? Look, I think this is going to be the summer of ownership dispute, which could get a little hairy. I don't know. I'm just waiting for the next press release to come out, because I want to know who's slinging shade at who. Because last time it's been getting a little rough. The last press release that came out from the Broncos was really, really against everything that was going on in the, I'll say, do you find it unfair that Nolan gets discounted for hitting at Coors, but Kershaw or other sea-level pitchers don't? I mean, are they 5,000 feet below sea level? I think that's how that works, right? They'd have to be 5,000 feet below sea level for that to be an equivalent. Greg says, I know Shaw hasn't worked out. Had to be excited about when it happened, right? I was. I thought it was a good move at the time. I know I wanted him in the offseason as a Mets fan. Yeah. I thought Shaw was a really good addition. I thought Wade Davis was a really good addition. I thought Brooks Pounders might have worked out, but all those guys ended up just sucking. Just sucking so much. But yeah, look, going back to the Broncos for a second, the Broncos ownership group is in a really interesting position, because they've got a team that's a little bit in disarray right now. They have no identity. If I told you, what are the Broncos? And you would say, a team with no head. They have no leader. There's no direction. I don't really know what they're going to try to do next season. That's never a good sign. Those seasons never turn out well. I've been doing this long enough. I've seen that season in college, and that's a 6-6 season. That's a 7-5 season when you don't really know what's what. And in the pros, that's a 4-12, 5-11, 6-10 kind of season, where you're just not really sure what your offense is, and your defense isn't quite what it used to be. That's tough. But I did like some of the comments about Joe Woods about Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. I love Chubb. I thought that was a great draft pick, which is kind of uncharacteristic for the Broncos, if we're being honest here. I thought that was a really good pick. I thought that you could make an argument they got legitimately the best player in the draft with Bradley Chubb. But the problem is that if you have the best player in the draft and you have a really good pass rush, you have to be ahead in games to use it. And they're not going to be ahead in that many games based off of what we see from their offense. Maybe they will. We'll find out, but that's a big maybe. And so you've got that whole situation looming for the actual football component of it, right? It's a team that's not really sure where they're at. They're cautiously optimistic in some areas, but really kind of pessimistic in most. That's your situation for the Broncos right now. And layered on top of that is this bigger uncertainty about who's going to own the team over the next 5 years. The Pat Bowlen Trust, the Bowlen Trust group, has basically been a kind of indecisive mess since Pat Bowlen relinquished his control of the team for health reasons. And look, I know how Pat Bowlen would handle the Vance Joseph debacle. He'd fire him if he lost the first 4 games of the season, right? If they start to struggle right from the get-go, that guy's out because he's not going to tolerate empty seats. I know how he would handle it. I don't know how Joe Ellis will handle it. I don't know how John Elway's going to handle that. Because I think that they're a little bit unsure of who's in charge, who makes that call. And it's a tenuous situation to be in because they've got so much uncertainty with the family members who seem to be at each other's throats. You've got the mom and the current wife, Annabelle, who is upset that Beth, who is the daughter of a woman from a former marriage, who really wants to own the team, and they're butting heads over who gets control. And Beth's obviously very qualified. Annabelle wants her daughter, Brittany, who is 28 years old, very young. And to be honest, as somebody who's 31, I'm not qualified to own a team. I'd have no idea what I'm doing. It'd be like Richie Rich. It'd be like, what's that movie where the kid owns the baseball team? I don't remember, but it'd be like that. It would be bad. I thought you just said Bowl of Trust Group, which I imagine is some punk rock band from the late 90s. Bowl of Trust Group, that is like I'm going to say Alan Parsons Project. Or who was the other project? There's some 70s kind of like rock. By the way, we got to mention this about the 70s. Little Big League. Thank you. Yeah, Little Big League. It'd be like that. That's how it would be if I owned a team. So if you're 28 years old, like I get it. You're probably not ready to own a team. But Beth Bolen's like, she's in her 50s. So like she's been around. She's been around the organization for a long time. She's the most qualified by far of anybody of that family to own the team. But, the wife of the current wife doesn't want that happening. And that's kind of where we're at with that. But, Bowl of Trust Group. We got to talk about this. Bowl of Trust sounds like Bowl of Trust Group sounds like the Alan Parsons Project or something like that. Some weirdo 70s group. What is it about the 70s? Every like biopic or period piece about the 70s is basically some version of, hey man, we all did drugs. That was the 70s, man. You just had to be there. That's what. It's all biopics. There's such a I don't know why that decade is so difficult to capture. I've never seen a good movie about the 70s. This show, The Deuce, is kind of getting close on HBO. But, generally speaking, the 70s, it's just sort of like this haze of, hey, everybody was on drugs. You just had to be there. Everybody was doing it, man. And it was free love, love it and drugs. I just summed up the 70s. And all the music, everybody was always on drugs. And you look at every person, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like the live in-concert music video that they would all do with the lights that were like super bright. There's kind of like this haze over the screen. And every person, every lead singer is a sweaty man with a beard and an afro with like super large sunglasses on. And he's just sweating out all the drugs he did last night. Well, he just barely makes it through this song. That's the 70s. Anyways, Bowl of Trust Group reminds me of a 70s rock band. But yeah, the 70s were messed up. 70s were really messed up. Zach says he would have fit in great, with all his flop sweat and his curly hair. We're here live at Oscar Blues, and we're about to wrap things up here. We're going to be here all week long, so if you want to get in and come in on the show, you can come in here and visit me in person. We can talk some sports. We'll be here all week here at Oscar Blues, and they have a ton of great beers here on tap. These are just some versions of their cans, Dale's Pale Ale, things like that. They also have this roasted coffee. This is called Can You Dig It? And then here is my favorite salt. It's the Chibisi salt right there, Chibisi. You also got Phuket Thai habanero chili. It's very good. So Jenna is crying laughing. Zach Rosenberg with the thumbs up. Thank you very much, guys. We'll be out here live tomorrow from Oscar Blues, right on Market Street. There's a little bit of construction outside, but it's still easy to get to the door. Parking lot literally right next to the building. So come on by, say hello. We'll talk a little bit of sports. You guys can have some nice lunch. I recommend the chicken and waffles if you come in a little bit early. They are delicious, and it's one of the coolest rock bars you'll find. If you like rock music, 70s or 90s, if you like 70s drug music or 90s punk rock, this is the place for you. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me today. We'll be talking Broncos, Nuggets, and Rockies, of course, all tomorrow. We'll probably talk a little bit more of national stuff, some World Cup as well. We're doing more World Cup remotes here throughout the course of the coming month, all the way up until the World Cup final on July 15th. We'll also be doing some stuff for the All-Star game as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk at you tomorrow. I'm TJ Carpenter for Phantom. Later, y'all.